From Eleven to Dustin, these are some of the smartest and dumbest characters in Stranger Things, starting with one of the most intelligent on the list. Eleven is often considered the most powerful character in Stranger Things, but her power extends far beyond her psychic abilities. From the very first season, she demonstrates problem-solving skills, observational insight, and emotional intelligence that put her ahead of most other characters. While her powers are her greatest tool, it is her ability to think, adapt, and anticipate danger that consistently allows her and her friends to survive. In Season 1, Eleven escapes Hawkins' lab and immediately shows remarkable situational awareness. Alone, in a new environment, she navigates the town without prior knowledge, identifying threats and potential allies. Her decision to seek help from Mike Wheeler shows emotional intelligence. She recognizes that while she is strong, she cannot survive entirely on her own. Eleven's intelligence is also tactical. When the Demogorgon attacks, she uses her powers creatively, not just to fight, but to protect others. She assesses each situation quickly, weighing risk and outcome. Season 2 expands on her cognitive abilities. Eleven tracks her mother's whereabouts through indirect clues, demonstrating detective skills. She connects her place of origin to her mother's past. Even when she is emotionally strained by Hopper's strict rules or Max's arrival, she adapts, showing resilience and foresight. Eleven's emotional intelligence is critical in group settings. She notices patterns in her friends' behavior, anticipates their actions, and coordinates their efforts during crises. By Season 3, her intelligence is as much about people as it is about tactics. She understands that defeating the Mind Flayer requires cooperation and creative solutions, not just raw power. She coordinates with the group, uses her powers strategically, and leverages knowledge of the Mind Flayer. Importantly, she demonstrates moral reasoning. She calculates risk not only for her survival, but for the safety of her friends, showing strategic thinking fused with empathy. Even when Eleven is physically limited or emotionally overwhelmed, she often outsmarts her opponents. Her encounters with agents from Hawkins' lab, soldiers, and supernatural entities illustrate the depth of her reasoning. She considers timing, location, and psychological pressure in her strategies. Her intelligence allows her to survive situations that would defeat adults and other teens alike. Eleven's combination of cognitive skills, emotional insight, and tactical creativity makes her arguably the smartest character in Stranger Things. Billy Hargrove is one of Stranger Things' most infamous characters, and much of his notoriety comes from his poor decision-making and impulsive nature. While he is physically strong and charismatic in a dangerous way, his lack of foresight and inability to consider consequences repeatedly puts himself and others at risk. His intelligence, or lack thereof, is as much social and emotional as it is practical. He often reacts to situations emotionally rather than logically, which frequently escalates conflicts. From the moment Billy is introduced in Season 2, his recklessness is apparent. He bullies Max, his stepsister, with a combination of physical intimidation and verbal cruelty. His behavior is impulsive. He does not plan his actions or consider long-term consequences. This impulsivity is emblematic of his general lack of strategic thinking. He provokes fights, antagonizes peers, and pushes boundaries without regard for the personal or legal fallout. Unlike Eleven, who carefully evaluates risks before acting, Billy is often guided purely by emotion and anger. Season 3 highlights the dangers of Billy's impulsive nature. When he becomes possessed by the Mind Flayer, his lack of internal resistance is partially a result of his previously shallow moral reasoning and emotional volatility. He follows the Mind Flayer's command, losing his control, using his strength to kidnap and control others. While part of this is supernatural influence, his susceptibility is amplified by his poor judgment and inability to think critically. Even outside the Mind Flayer's influence, Billy rarely reflects on the morality of his choices, acting instead on immediate gratification or revenge. This lack of social strategy is a repeated source of his problems, leaving him vulnerable to manipulation by both supernatural forces and his own family dynamics. Additionally, Billy's physical bravery often crosses into foolishness. He challenges authority, escalates fights, and engages in risky behavior without considering consequences. While courage can be valuable, Billy consistently misapplies it, acting without preparation or backup. For example, when he confronts Eleven in Season 3 before fully understanding her powers or intentions, he quickly finds himself outmatched, demonstrating that raw aggression is no substitute for planning or intellect. Billy's emotional immaturity further compounds his dumb choices. He struggles to process grief, trauma, or rejection constructively. This immaturity is evident in how he reacts to conflicts with Max and others. He lashes out violently, rather than seeking solutions. Even when he experiences moments of clarity or heroism, such as his final act in Season 3, these moments are isolated. They do not reflect an underlying pattern of thoughtfulness, but rather a reactive, last-minute decision influenced by guilt and fleeting morality. In summary, Billy Hargrove exemplifies how intelligence in Stranger Things is measured not only by knowledge or power, but by decision-making, social awareness, and foresight. Dustin Henderson is one of the smartest and most resourceful characters in Stranger Things. From the very first season, he stands out because he thinks before he acts and uses his knowledge to help the group. While he's funny and often goofy, his intelligence is clear in both practical and social situations. Dustin's curiosity drives a lot of his smarts. He loves science, technology, and learning about the strange things happening in Hawkins. In Season 1, he helps the group figure out where the gate is and how it affects the electromagnetic field. While other kids panic or run away, Dustin asks questions, researches, and tests theories. His knowledge about radios, electronics, and codes often gives the group an advantage. For example, he builds radio devices and helps the kids communicate in the Season 3 finale, showing both creativity and technical skill. He's also socially smart. Dustin knows how to work with others, even when they're frustrated or scared. He's one of the few characters who can calm tensions between Mike, Lucas, and Will. He encourages teamwork and keeps morale high, showing emotional intelligence. Unlike Billy, who lashes out or isolates himself, Dustin sees the value in collaboration and friendship. Dustin's bravery is paired with his brains. In Season 2, when the Demodogs are on the loose, he participates in dangerous missions, but always has a plan or strategy in mind. He often suggests ways to trap or distract the monsters rather than just fighting blindly, such as the junkyard trap. Even when he takes risks, they're calculated risks based on what he knows or observes. His intelligence isn't just academic. Dustin notices patterns others miss. He remembers details about the Upside Down, the Demogorgon, and Russian operations, which helps the group survive multiple threats. He also adapts quickly when things go wrong. In Season 3, when the Russians arrive, Dustin uses his knowledge of electronics to disable the air duct fans, showing clever thinking under pressure. Even Dustin's humor contributes to his intelligence. He knows when to lighten the mood and when to focus, balancing emotional needs with practical solutions. His loyalty and problem solving make him someone the audience can trust. He doesn't just react, he thinks ahead, plans, and uses his knowledge to make the right moves. In short, Dustin Henderson is a mix of brains, creativity, and emotional intelligence. He's smart, brave, and socially aware, making him one of the strongest thinkers in Stranger Things. While others rely on strength or luck, Dustin relies on understanding, planning, and quick thinking, proving that brains can often save the day in Hawkins. Steve Harrington is one of the most lovable, dumb characters in Stranger Things. When the series starts, he's the classic high school jock, handsome, popular, and mostly focused on dating and social status. His brain doesn't always lead the way, and he makes plenty of mistakes because of it. But that's also what makes him so entertaining and relatable. In Season 1, Steve spends a lot of time trying to impress Nancy Wheeler. He brags, flirts, and sometimes acts without thinking. His actions often put himself and others in danger. For example, when he tries to apologize Nancy and Jonathan, he barely understands what he's walking into, and it's clear he's out of his depth with the strange happenings in Hawkins. Unlike Dustin or Eleven, Steve doesn't start out as someone who understands science or monsters. He reacts emotionally and makes impulsive choices. His dumbness isn't just about lack of book smarts. Steve often misunderstands situations, overestimates his own abilities, or ignores warning signs. In Season 2, he tries to lure Demodogs without a clear plan, relying on brute force rather than strategy. This approach frequently backfires, though he usually manages to survive through luck or help from others. Despite his flaws, Steve grows a lot over the series. His dumb mistakes in early seasons become part of his charm, and the show leans into his transformation. By Season 3, he becomes a protective figure, especially toward Robin and the younger kids like Dustin and Erica. He's still not the smartest, but his heart and courage make him valuable. He often improvises during fights with Demodogs or other upside-down threats, relying on instincts instead of knowledge. Steve's relationships also highlight his dumb side. He misunderstands social cues, overreacts to small problems, and sometimes misreads danger. Yet, he learns from experience. His growth shows that being dumb in Stranger Things doesn't mean being useless. It means acting without full awareness, but learning through trial and error. Steve is a perfect example of a character who is dumb in some ways, but still heroic. His mistakes make him relatable, funny, and human. In short, Steve Harrington is fun, impulsive, and sometimes clueless, making him one of Stranger Things' most entertaining and memorable characters. Even though he's dumb, he's invaluable to the group, proving that heart sometimes matters more than brains. Nancy Wheeler is one of the smartest characters in Stranger Things. From the very first season, it's clear she's curious, brave, and driven. She's not just book smart, she's clever in figuring out mysteries, connecting dots, and taking action when others hesitate. Nancy doesn't wait for someone else to solve a problem. She jumps in, investigates, and pushes forward, even when it's dangerous. In Season 1, Nancy notices that her friend Barb has gone missing. While many kids her age might shrug it off or wait for adults to handle it, Nancy starts asking questions. She teams up with Jonathan Byers, navigating danger, following clues, and even breaking rules to uncover what's happening. Her intelligence isn't just about thinking, it's about taking initiative and making smart decisions under pressure. Nancy also stands out because of her moral awareness. She sees when something is wrong and acts on it, even when adults like Chief Hopper or her own parents dismiss her concerns. In Season 2 and 3, she continues this pattern, investigating Hawkins' lab and other threats tied to the Upside Down. Her attention to detail, resourcefulness, and persistence consistently place her ahead of many other characters in the series. Her intelligence also shows in teamwork. Nancy works well with Jonathan, Steve, and even some of the younger kids, providing guidance, insight, and problem-solving skills. She's strategic, often thinking several steps ahead when planning how to confront threats or uncover hidden information. While others rely on powers or brute force, Nancy relies on reasoning, observation, and research. Even in tense or frightening situations, Nancy keeps her composure. She remains logical and careful, which balances some of the impulsiveness shown by characters like Steve or even Mike. Her ability to analyze risks, weigh options, and act decisively under pressure is a defining feature. This makes her not only smart, but dependable and capable of leading when needed. Nancy Wheeler is also persistent. She doesn't give up when faced with obstacles or skepticism. When others doubt the supernatural events in Hawkins, she continues investigating, proving time and again that she can handle complex and dangerous situations. Her intelligence isn't just academic, it's practical, adaptive, and courageous. In short, Nancy Wheeler is smart, resourceful, and brave. She combines curiosity, reasoning, and moral awareness to navigate Hawkins's supernatural threats. Unlike characters who act on impulse, Nancy thinks, plans, and executes, making her one of the smartest and most reliable members of the Stranger Things cast. Her intelligence saves lives, uncovers truths, and consistently proves that brains can be as powerful as bravery in Hawkins. Jonathan Byers is a complicated character. On one hand, he's brave, loyal, and caring. On the other hand, he often acts without thinking, misjudges danger, or gets himself into awkward situations that could have been avoided. His intelligence is mostly academic or technical. He's good with photography, observant, and often notices things others miss. But when it comes to social situations or high-pressure decisions, he can be slow or clueless. In Season 1, Jonathan's protective instincts toward his brother Will are admirable, but they sometimes lead to mistakes. He sneaks around Hawkins at night, tries to track his brother's whereabouts, and confronts dangers without proper planning. While this shows bravery, it's not always smart. For example, when he and Nancy investigate the Upside Down, they barely escape because Jonathan underestimated the risks or overestimated their abilities. His heart is in the right place, but his judgment often lags behind. Jonathan also struggles socially, which sometimes affects his decision-making. He's shy, awkward, and uncomfortable interacting with others outside his small circle. While this isn't a dumb trait on its own, it sometimes makes him hesitant, overly cautious, or defensive in ways that slow down the group or create unnecessary tension. He overthinks certain interactions, second-guesses himself, and sometimes lets fear dictate his actions. These moments highlight that being book-smart or observant doesn't always translate to street smarts or quick thinking in emergencies. Another example comes in Season 2, when Jonathan's focus on capturing evidence and documenting events sometimes distracts him from immediate threats. He's more concerned with getting photographs or understanding patterns than protecting himself or others. This can make him seem reckless or naive. For instance, he often lags behind the more proactive characters like Nancy, Eleven, or Hopper, leaving himself exposed to danger that could have been avoided with better timing or awareness. Jonathan's tendency to brood or fixate on problems also plays into his dumb moments. He internalizes stress and overanalyzes situations, which can delay action when the group needs decisiveness. In several key moments, he hesitates at the wrong time, misjudges distances, or miscalculates risk. These flaws make him a relatable and human character, but also someone who isn't always the smartest under pressure. Despite these missteps, Jonathan's loyalty and courage are undeniable. He consistently puts himself in danger to protect friends and family, even if his plans aren't perfect. His mistakes don't come from malice, they come from being human, reactive, and emotionally invested. Unlike characters who deliberately manipulate or ignore risks, Jonathan acts out of love, fear, and determination, which sometimes clouds his judgment. In short, Jonathan Byers is smart in certain ways, observant, technical, and emotionally aware, but his flaws, social awkwardness, and occasional poor judgment make him prone to mistakes. He's not dumb in a cruel or malicious sense, but he does miscalculate, hesitate, and act impulsively at times. This combination of courage and misjudgment makes him a compelling, dumb character. Brave, caring, and committed, yet often outmatched by the dangers of Hawkins and the Upside Down. Will Byers is one of the smartest kids in Hawkins, but his intelligence isn't only the book-smart type. He's clever, observant, and really good at noticing things other people miss. Will has a strong sense of awareness, which comes from being careful and paying attention to details, skills he developed from years of being cautious and thoughtful. These traits make him one of the smartest characters in Stranger Things, even if he doesn't always show it through talking or leadership. From the very first season, Will shows his intelligence in subtle ways. Even as a shy, quiet kid, he notices patterns and threats that others ignore. He's careful when things get dangerous, which is why he survives being trapped in the Upside Down. He understands when to hide, when to run, and when to signal for help, even though he's terrified. Will is smart in how he reads situations and interprets danger, which is a huge survival skill. Unlike other kids who rush into danger, Will thinks things through, even if fear sometimes slows him down. Will's intelligence also shows in how he handles social situations and family. He's sensitive to his mom Joyce's moods and knows when something is seriously wrong. He notices the smallest changes in his surroundings, which later helps the group understand the Upside Down and Vecna's influence. He's not just clever, he's perceptive. Will sees connections that others miss, like noticing patterns in visions or sensing when something unnatural is nearby. This awareness saves lives and helps the group make better choices. Another way Will shows he's smart is how he adapts to difficult situations. Being trapped in the Upside Down and facing monsters like the Demogorgon could have broken him, but he stays alert, careful, and resourceful. He communicates using simple signals, uses hiding spots effectively, and even leaves clues for his friends. These are all signs of quick thinking under extreme pressure. Will doesn't panic in the way some other characters do. He uses his fear to sharpen his senses instead of letting it control him. Will also has emotional intelligence, which is another form of smarts. He understands people's feelings, notices when someone is worried or hiding something, and often acts in ways that help others feel safe. This emotional awareness makes him a good friend and an important part of the group. He might not be the one making flashy plans like Mike or Steve, but his insights often guide them to safer decisions. In short, Will Byers is smart in ways that go beyond school or knowledge. He's cautious, observant, resourceful, and emotionally aware. He notices what others miss, adapts to dangerous situations, and helps his friends survive through his careful thinking. Will may seem quiet or timid at first, but his intelligence makes him one of the most important characters in Hawkins and one of the smartest kids in Stranger Things overall. Max Mayfield is one of the smartest characters in Stranger Things, not just in school smarts, but in street smarts and quick thinking during crises. Introduced in Season 2, Max quickly shows that she is brave, independent, and clever. She doesn't wait for others to solve problems. She acts and adapts when danger arises. This makes her a key player when the group faces supernatural threats. One of Max's smartest traits is her ability to stay calm under pressure. During the events of Season 3, when the Mind Flayer begins taking control of people in Hawkins, Max shows that she can think clearly even when everyone else is panicking. She quickly understands that the strange behavior of people around her is not normal, which helps the group plan how to respond. Unlike characters like Jason Carver, who panic and act rashly, Max analyzes what's happening and helps guide others. Max is also a problem solver. In several episodes, she uses logic and observation to make sense of dangerous situations. She notices patterns in Vecna's attacks, which helps the gang understand how the curse works. In Season 4, when Vecna targets Hawkins as teens, Max fights to protect herself and her friends. She listens to advice, but also trusts her instincts, balancing what she knows from experience with what she feels is right. This balance between reasoning and intuition is part of why she is so smart in the series. Her intelligence isn't just practical, it's emotional too. Max is sensitive to others' feelings and uses that awareness strategically. She knows when to push her friends to act and when to support them. K-Max also copes with grief and trauma in ways that are mature for her age. After Billy's death, she experiences pain, guilt, and anger, but she channels these emotions into action rather than letting them paralyze her. This emotional intelligence is crucial in a world full of monsters and uncertainty. Max is also resourceful. She uses whatever tools and knowledge she has to survive. From riding her skateboard to using her wits in dangerous upside-down encounters, she adapts to situations quickly. She doesn't wait for adults to save her. She actively participates in rescue missions, battles, and strategic planning. Her resourcefulness often makes the difference between success and failure in life-or-death moments. Finally, Max's courage complements her intelligence. She takes calculated risks, stepping up when others hesitate. Whether facing Vecna, the Mind Flayer, or other threats, she combines strategy with action. Her smart decisions often save lives and prevent disasters. Unlike Jason Carver, whose confidence doesn't match his knowledge, Max's bravery is backed by understanding and skill. In summary, Max Mayfield is smart because she is quick-thinking, emotionally aware, resourceful, and courageous. She stays calm under pressure, analyzes situations logically, and acts decisively. Her intelligence isn't just about knowledge, it's about knowing what to do in dangerous situations, understanding others, and adapting when things go wrong. Max is one of the few characters in Stranger Things who blends brains, bravery, and empathy, making her a true asset to the group and a standout smart character in the series. Murray Bauman is a journalist and private investigator introduced in Season 2, and while he is clever in some ways, he often makes dumb choices that get himself and others into trouble. He tries to help the main group, but he doesn't always think things through. Murray is loud, overconfident, and sometimes reckless, which leads to mistakes that could have serious consequences in Hawkins. One of Murray's biggest problems is his tendency to panic and act without full information. In Season 3 and Season 4, he jumps into dangerous situations thinking he has a plan, but the plan usually doesn't work the way he expects. For example, when dealing with the Russians and the Upside Down machinery, Murray often volunteers for risky missions without considering the risks. Unlike Max or Jonathan, who weigh options carefully, Murray relies on gut feelings and boldness, which sometimes backfires. Murray is also prone to distraction. He gets caught up in his own theories and ideas, sometimes missing obvious details that could help the group. In Season 2, when the Mind Flayer returns, Murray focuses on proving conspiracy theories and exposing hidden threats, which delays action at critical moments. This makes him seem less smart in practice, even if he has knowledge. Knowledge alone doesn't equal intelligence, you have to apply it wisely, and that's where Murray struggles. Another sign of Murray's dumb side is his lack of preparation. He improvises constantly, which works sometimes, but more often leaves him vulnerable. In situations with powerful supernatural threats, this improvisation is dangerous. Murray's overconfidence also causes issues. He talks big and acts like he knows more than he does, which can mislead others. In Season 4, he exaggerates his investigative skills and connections, which sometimes puts him and Joyce in danger. While he has moments of clever insight, his constant overconfidence and loud personality make his mistakes more obvious. People rely on him, but he doesn't always deliver, showing that being smart in knowledge isn't enough if you can't use it well. Finally, Murray has poor social awareness. He often misreads situations or overestimates his importance. He doesn't always realize when he's making others uncomfortable or when his actions are counterproductive. While he is loyal and means well, his social missteps add to his dumb persona. In high-stakes scenarios, this lack of awareness could be deadly. In summary, Murray Bauman is dumb in Stranger Things not because he is unintelligent, but because he makes reckless choices, improvises poorly, overestimates himself, and misapplies his knowledge. He often panics or gets distracted, putting himself and others at risk. Compared to smart characters like Max or Will, Murray acts first and thinks later, which leads to repeated mistakes. His humor, loud personality, and boldness make him entertaining, but they also highlight why he is one of the dumb characters in the show. Argyle isn't exactly book smart or a planner, but that's kind of his charm. He's carefree, funny, and easy to like. When it comes to thinking ahead, Argyle is not great. He often acts impulsively and gets distracted by food or fun. For example, when Jonathan and Nancy are trying to focus on serious stuff, Argyle's mind is usually on snacks, driving dangerously, or making a joke at the wrong time. He's not bad-hearted, He just doesn't always take things seriously, and that sometimes causes problems. Argyle also has a very literal way of thinking. He doesn't always pick up on hints or subtle cues, which makes him seem a bit clueless compared to the others. When the gang is in high-pressure situations, like escaping soldiers or dealing with supernatural threats, Argyle tends to be the one who panics or gets in the way accidentally. He doesn't plan complex strategies or solve codes, and he usually follows the smarter characters rather than taking initiative. But while Argyle isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, he brings other strengths. His loyalty is unwavering. He's always there for Jonathan, Nancy, or anyone he considers a friend, no matter how risky the situation. His humor and positivity help lighten tense moments, which is important when facing monsters or dangerous missions. He may not outthink the Upside Down, but he supports the people who do. Argyle's simplicity also makes him unpredictable. While others rely on logic and careful planning, Argyle's impulsive, carefree approach sometimes leads to unexpected solutions. He might stumble into an opportunity or accidentally distract an enemy, saving the group in ways he doesn't even understand. In short, Argyle is the dumb but lovable character of Stranger Things. He's not meant to be a genius, a leader, or a problem solver. He's the friend who brings laughter, keeps spirits up, and sometimes gets caught in crazy situations he barely understands. His lack of smarts is part of what makes him fun to watch, and it makes his loyalty and courage stand out even more in contrast to his cluelessness. Joyce Byers is one of the smartest and most determined characters in Stranger Things. From the very first season, she shows intelligence, resourcefulness, and courage, all wrapped up in her love for her family. She isn't a scientist like Dr. Owens or a psychic like Eleven, but her quick thinking, emotional intelligence, and gut instincts make her one of the most capable humans in Hawkins. In Season 1, when Will Byers disappears, Joyce immediately knows something is wrong. While everyone else initially doubts her, she trusts her instincts and investigates. She notices the strange patterns, like lights flickering, and pieces together clues that no one else sees. Joyce doesn't rely on formal training. She uses observation, intuition, and determination to solve problems. That's smart in its own way. She also shows adaptability. When the Upside Down becomes a real threat, Joyce learns to navigate a world full of monsters, government cover-ups, and dangerous experiments. She works with unlikely allies, like Hopper and Jonathan, and comes up with solutions under pressure. For example, she uses Christmas lights to communicate with Will, and improvises ways to fight back when conventional methods fail. Joyce's intelligence isn't about reading books, it's about acting fast, staying calm in chaos, and thinking outside the box. Joyce is also emotionally intelligent. She can read people, sense danger, and motivate those around her. She protects her children fiercely, convincing them to stay safe without making them panic. Her ability to combine logic with empathy allows her to make tough decisions. In Season 3 and 4, Joyce coordinates with others to stop the Mind Flayer and Vecna, showing strategic thinking and leadership under extreme stress. Her bravery sets her apart too. Joyce repeatedly risks her life to save her family and friends, often putting herself in harm's way when others hesitate. That courage is paired with smart decision-making. She evaluates situations quickly, knows when to retreat, and never acts purely on emotion. This mix of fearlessness and brains makes her one of the strongest characters in the series. Joyce Byers proves that intelligence isn't always about grades or gadgets. She is sharp, resourceful, and courageous, relying on her instincts, experience, and determination to survive and protect those she loves. She adapts to impossible circumstances, reads people and situations accurately, and always finds a way forward. That combination of heart and mind makes her one of the smartest characters in Stranger Things. When looking across Stranger Things, the contrast between smart and dumb characters is clear. From Eleven, Robin, and Joyce on the smart side, to Argyle, Jason Carver, and other less careful characters on the dumb side, the series uses these traits to shape conflict, humor, and drama. The smart characters often drive the plot forward, solve mysteries, and save lives, while the less intelligent or impulsive characters add tension, comedy, and unpredictability. That wraps up our deep dive into the smartest and dumbest characters in Stranger Things. Did we get your favorites right? Who would you add to each list? If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Stranger Things character analysis, story deep dives, and theories.